to the kitchen and the gardens. The throne room lies beyond these large doors. They were kept closed during the celebration as some renovations planned by Alexander and Cosima have not yet been completed. The door leads back to the main hall of the castle. The impressive and large suit of armor gives an imposing presence of guarding the hallway. As dashing as he may look in armor, that suit is not only too large to fit Graham, it's far too heavy to be of any real use to him. The king much prefers his own clothing, nice and light to let him move quickly, and the colors complement his skin tone so perfectly. This object is not responding. It may be busy. Please, talk to your... Who taught you that logic, Graham? Graham does not want to disturb the cook and his staff. They are probably just as distressed as the rest of the people in the castle, and it's not as though he feels like eating at a time like this. Object says... You're crazy. That door leads to the kitchen. The exquisite dishes prepared for the wedding feast have probably all gone to waste now, and the kitchen itself has gone silent for the day.
It's the cloak that dark creature left behind when it vanished.
King Graham has not been admitted into the tea yet. Oh, yes. Though not sure what good it will do to have just the cloak of the stranger in his hands, Graham takes the garment into his possession. Edgar's father, King Oberon of Etheria, looks both saddened and angry. He is no doubt worried for his daughter-in-law as well as for his son. Queen Titania stays silently at her husband's side. Noticing Graham, she looks at him with sorrow in her violet eyes, then casts them toward the ground again, restraining a heavy sigh. Guards! Guards! Someone's trying to get... Well, fine. I'll stop if you do.
Greetings, your highnesses.
Good day, Graham. I cannot tell you how sorry Oberon and I are for all that is happening.
You are most kind, my dear queen. I hope there is something that can be done to break this enchantment on my poor children.
So do we.
It's hard to believe that this started out as such a wonderful day to end in such tragedy.
It is truly unspeakable.
We haven't felt this much anguish since Edgar was kidnapped from our own garden. But you still have your children, and there must be a way to save them.
We can only hope. Do you think Edgar will recover from this all right?
It's hard to say. I've noticed that his fairy soul is still fragile, but he may yet surprise us.
He will recover only when his bride does.
They were both so happy these days. Rosella kept telling me these stories about how she loved your homeland so much.
It was wonderful to see her and Edgar there together, and so happy.
I'd give anything to undo what's happened to my little girl.
It must have been lovely being able to raise your own child. And Rosella is such an eager girl. All the time she spent with us, she was always inquiring about everything in sight. Etheria, Eldritch, Edgar.
That's Rosella. Just yesterday I had to tell her to stop and go take a walk. She wouldn't talk about anything else but how she never found any reference to Edgar as a child in your lands. How young was he when Lelote took him?
Well, he.
Not long after Edgar disappeared, I commanded the lands to forget about him and never pronounce his name again, so that Titania could move on with her life and not live with the ghost of the son we never knew.
I agree. Valanice had difficult times when Alexander was stolen as an infant. Now she has to face that horror again.
You are all she has now.
I wish it could be otherwise, but she'll have to manage without me while I find a way out of this. Do you know who that stranger might have been?
I have no idea. But Edgar saw him just before he worked his magic on your daughter.
I already asked him. He couldn't tell.
I tried too, but all he could do was grieve over Rosella.
Don't you two want to come inside? This weather is terrible to be standing in.
Oh, that's all right. I'd much prefer to stay outside. This garden reminds me of the beauty of my homeland, and I feel at peace with nothing but the sky above me.
Yes, all fairies do. Even with the weather as bad as this, we do our best thinking out of doors. It helps calm our spirits. It is Titania's wish.
I understand. I'd better be leaving. The sooner I find a way to help my children, the better.
Be careful, Graham.
Yes, be careful.
Graham has never seen such a lovely garden in such ugly disarray. Just because you're a king doesn't mean you can take whatever you want, Graham. Touchy today, aren't we? Hey, now stop slacking, you. You have a family to save and a huge evil to fight, and I'm not going to stand around here and wait until you're done taking a breather. I mean, kings these days, they don't make them like they used to. White benches, some standing and some lying on their sides, are spattered with mud from the last of the fleeing guests and the sudden rain. It hurts Graham to look at that lone altar where his daughter met her unjust and unexpected fate. He vows to save both her and Alexander, and hopefully find out who this stranger is as well. The balcony had seemed like the perfect vantage point to watch the entirety of his daughter's wedding earlier, but now Graham can only curse the distance it put between him and Rosella. Had he been down there, on the ground, near to her, could he have done something? Anything at all? Though it seems unlikely, the possibility that it could have made a difference taunts him. The windows of many of the guest rooms in the castle overlook the usually lovely gardens. Unsurprisingly, no one is looking out of them today. There doesn't... That door leads down into the basement. Graham can think of nothing worth investigating in the castle basement. The place is still messy from the renovations. It's not safe to go in there, especially without a hard hat. The throne room lies beyond these large doors. They were kept closed during the celebration as some renovations planned by Alexander and Cosima have not yet been completed.